A man arrived at the White House Correspondents' dinner with firearms, knives, and a written list of government officials ranked as targets. He sent that list to family members before showing up. Secret Service stopped him. Today we're covering that attempt on Trump's inner circle, Iran's oil pipeline threats with a 3-day countdown, the United States sanctioning one of China's largest refineries for buying Iranian crude, federal executions resuming with the firing squad back on the list, and a new immigration rule that says criticizing Israel is grounds to deny you a green card. A full picture of where America is right now. Let's get into it. Cole Thomas Allen is 31 years old. He arrived at the event location for the White House Correspondents Association dinner carrying firearms and knives. Before arriving, he had written and distributed a document, a manifest outlining plans to target administration officials, ranked by priority, with specific individuals named. He sent the document to members of his own family. Secret Service agents identified and arrested him before he could reach the dinner. This is the second serious attempt against Trump or his inner circle in less than a year. The first was the Pennsylvania rally shooting in the summer of 2024. Both events share a common thread: a lone actor with a documented plan and the willingness to follow through until physically stopped. The legal and psychological dimensions of this case will take months to fully surface. Trump's public response was characteristic. He said the suspect ran fast and should be invited to play in the NFL. The remark generated its usual mix of amusement and unease. What the quip does not acknowledge is the underlying reality. A man distributed a priority-ranked kill list before approaching a presidential event. That is not a close call. That is a failure of something, somewhere, that was caught by the Secret Service doing its job. The political environment around this presidency has now produced two serious attempts. The security posture around Trump events has already been elevated repeatedly since 2024. Allen's case adds a new dimension. The premeditated written manifest, sent to relatives, represents a level of planning that moves this beyond impulse into territory that the FBI and federal prosecutors will examine very carefully. Trump this week told the world that Iranian oil pipelines will explode from within 3 days, describing it as a natural consequence of American port blockades rather than an active strike. At the same moment, he cancelled the scheduled trip by envoys Witkoff and Kushner to Islamabad for negotiations on the Iran war. His explanation: too much time is lost on travel, Iranian leadership is internally confused, and all the strategic advantages belong to the United States. If they want to talk, they just need to call. The combined posture is maximum pressure with minimum diplomatic engagement. Threaten infrastructure destruction. Cancel the talks. Wait for the call. Whether that calculation forces a capitulation or hardens the position on the other side is the central question. The energy markets are already watching closely. Europe's energy import bill from the war has crossed 25 billion euros in 54 days. Total Energies has warned of energy deficits within 2 to 3 months. If Iranian oil infrastructure takes serious damage on top of existing Hormuz disruptions, the effect on global energy prices would not be contained to the Middle East. The Trump administration this week lifted the moratorium on federal executions that President Biden had put in place in 2021. 44 defendants are now eligible for execution under federal law. Both lethal injection and firing squad have been authorized as methods. The firing squad had not been used in federal executions for decades. Biden paused all federal executions pending a review of the process and questioned the use of capital punishment in a system that has produced wrongful convictions. The reversal is consistent with Trump's campaign position and with his administration's broader pattern of undoing Biden-era executive actions across multiple policy areas. The political reception has divided along predictable lines. Supporters frame the resumption as restoring accountability. Critics raise the irreversibility argument in a judicial system where exonerations after conviction are documented. 44 names, 2 methods. The administration has the legal authority to proceed. A quick ask before the next story: a like and a comment on this video take 2 seconds, and they genuinely change how many people see it. YouTube's algorithm uses early engagement signals to decide how broadly to distribute content. If this is useful to you, the most direct way to help is to engage right now. Subscribe if you're not already. Drop a comment below. Now back to today's stories. The Department of Homeland Security issued instructions this week that green card applications can be denied if the applicant has ever criticized Israel, participated in protests supporting Palestinians, or desecrated Israeli flags. The instruction expands the criteria for immigration denial beyond criminal history, security threats, and health conditions into the territory of political expression and past speech. Civil liberties attorneys described the instruction as a content-based restriction on constitutionally protected speech and political activity. Multiple state attorneys general have signaled they will challenge it in court. The practical scope is potentially enormous. Millions of people currently in immigration proceedings have participated in campus protests, signed petitions, or made public statements in the past 2 years on the conflict in Gaza and the Middle East. Whether the instruction can survive judicial review is uncertain. That it was issued at all represents a significant shift in the legal theory of what makes someone inadmissible to the United States. A different kind of American story. An observer who spent time inside the U.S. nursing home system describes what he saw as a system that treats its residents not as people, but as costs. The cost of a bed. One incident stayed with him, an 80-year-old man, mentally coherent, who asked to go outside for fresh air and was physically blocked by facility security from leaving. The man understood what was happening. He argued his case clearly. He was denied. The U.S. nursing home industry operates approximately 15,000 facilities, serving over 1,200,000 residents. Federal funding through Medicare and Medicaid constitutes a major portion of nursing home revenues. Quality varies enormously, and a significant number of facilities are cited annually for deficiencies ranging from inadequate staffing to medication errors. For millions of Americans who reach old age without significant personal savings or family support networks, this system is the only option available. The money was taken through taxes and insurance contributions across decades of working life. What it buys at the end varies widely, and sometimes it buys a locked ward with a security guard by the door. Now to the story that carries the largest strategic weight. The United States sanctioned the Hengli petrochemical refinery in Dalian, China, one of the country's major industrial refineries, for purchasing Iranian oil in violation of American sanctions. 40 shipping companies were added to the sanctions list simultaneously. Hengli is not a small operator. Sanctioning it sends a direct signal. The U.S. is willing to impose costs on significant Chinese industrial actors to enforce Iran-related restrictions, regardless of the impact on bilateral relations. China's government does not recognize American sanctions on Iran as having jurisdiction over Chinese companies, and has said so repeatedly. This creates a direct conflict between two legal frameworks operating simultaneously. The practical effect, Hengli loses access to American financial institutions and entities, which has cascading consequences given the dollar's central role in international commodity trade. The 40 shipping companies added to the list tighten the logistics pressure on networks that have been routing Iranian crude through intermediaries to avoid direct sanctions exposure. This is where the Iran war and the U.S.-China competition intersect. The war is not just a military operation in the Middle East, it is also a test of whether the United States can enforce its own sanctions regime against a major economic power that has decided to absorb Iranian oil regardless. The outcome of that test will determine whether American economic coercion remains a viable tool in the decade ahead, or whether the construction of alternative financial and logistics networks around the dollar has already progressed far enough to absorb the pressure. Subscribe and leave a comment. This channel runs on viewer engagement and the support of people who find independent analysis worth their time. YouTube's algorithm does not measure quality. It measures engagement signals in the first hours after upload. Every like, every comment, every share changes how many people see this next. If today's stories were useful to you, that's the most direct contribution you can make. I also want to say something honest. This kind of work takes real time. Reading documents, cross-checking facts, building context that makes separate stories connect into a coherent picture. That is not fast. This channel stays independent because of viewers like you. If you want to support it more directly, super thanks is below this video and channel membership is available for those who want to be more involved. I read every comment in the first 48 hours. Thank you for watching. See you in the next one.